What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Back with my fight prediction for tonight's fights. Took me a minute, but I've just been real busy. And let's get into it. I want to talk about Brandon Rios, Diego-Chaves, also Sergey Kovalev. Now, the Sergey Kovalev fight, I'm rocking with Kovalev. He has a lot on the line. I told you guys that he is in line to face Bernard Hopkins, the legend himself, the alien, the executioner, B-Hop, whatever you want to call him. Yes, the butt naked dude in the Sports Illustrated, no homo. Um, so he's in line to face him. So I just ultimately think Kovalev has now incentive because Kovalev, if you look at his last couple fights, he's been forced to fight guys who, they're decent, sturdy guys, but they don't really bring much star power. Bernard Hopkins will be that. That will be that answer. The Cleverly fight for Kovalev, that was a pretty big fight because he has, at the time, Cleverly, I think, had a pretty big fan base overseas. But then after that, he started fighting guys that the casual fans really don't know. The Ishmaels, guys like Agnew, Cedric Agnew, his fight with Blake Caparello. A lot of people don't really know those names. They're not big. They don't hold a lot of weight. Not a lot of credibility is gained by beating those guys. You get some respect, but you're not going to get as much respect as if you beat a top dog with a solid resume like a B-Hop. So ultimately, everything is in Kovalev's favor. He was already, before this, he was already the favorite. I think ultimately the fight's going to play out similar to most recent fights with Kovalev, where Kovalev's going to impose his will and gradually break down his opponent inside of like 7. So I'm picking a stoppage, some kind of stoppage, either KO or TKO via round 6 or 7, right around there, right around round 6 or 7. Again, I think Kovalev has the momentum. Blake Caparello has, I think, 6 knockouts. Don't think he has the firepower to really command Kovalev's attention. Now, Kovalev in his fight with Agnew didn't really engage, and at times made him search um, for a target. And I think that bothered Kovalev a bit, and he began to get a little bit frustrated. So it'll be interesting to see if Blake can repeat that or if he gained anything from that particular fight that he can implement with his style. But ultimately, I see Kovalev finding the answer. He might have to search in the first 3 rounds or whatnot and try to just land on this guy. Seems like a solid boxer, solid boxing ability, and you never know. It's like boxing. You can never count out an underdog just because they come from nothing, and everybody wants to have that Buster Douglas fame. You have that one opportunity. You were selected in a raffle, basically, just to keep Kovalev active, just to make the date. You know what I'm saying? And now you're on a televised performance, so people don't respect that. People like, okay, it's a gray area, I guess you could say. I don't want to see somebody fight all bums. You know what I mean? I don't want to see people fight like Canelo earlier in his career, where he's fighting a lot of past prime people or people we don't care about, smaller guys. Peter Quillen, another guy, his resume just isn't that impressive. He fought Winky right after Winky was out of the sport 3 years, beat him. You know what I mean? Just guys like that. So I'm not saying you should fight all bums, but if in the underdogs, the underdog story is alive and well in boxing, I guess is my point. So you got to be careful. If there's a good, like a guy who can make you look bad, like a Mauricio Herrera, Danny Garcia, prime example. That was a guy that was brought in really to make Danny Garcia look good at home in front of Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico, and he lost the fight according to the judges, but ultimately a lot of people think Herrera won, and he played the spoiler. So it's interesting, always interesting in boxing when you got a guy like Blake Caparello who does have boxing ability, just to see if they can reduplicate that Mauricio Herrera spoiler type of night. But I mean, I really don't see it. I see Kovalev winning and looking good and doing it after he finds his range and his distance. I think he's going to break him down, and Blake will probably be a bit gun shy and hesitant to engage. So I see that stoppage in the mid to late rounds, about rounds 5, 6, 7, somewhere right around there. The main event you got Brandon Rios versus Diego Chaves. Now, I'm so glad this happened. This fight is happening because there were some passport issues with Diego Chavez's passport, his visa, and he's from Argentina. So it was on the shelf. Like we didn't know if we were gonna get the fight, but everything got cleared away, and the fight is going on. I'm picking Diego Chaves for this fight. I think he is the better boxer, like in terms of technique. I feel he's been more active. Brandon Rios fought Pacquiao in October or November. I want to say November of last year, and he hasn't fought since. So nearly a year off. He got suspended for testing positive. He had something, some diuretic or something in his system in the Pacquiao fight, and he just had a long layoff. Brandon Rios, to me, he doesn't seem like he's a fun fighter, and I love watching Brandon Rios. I really like him as a fighter just because you know what you're gonna get. Brandon Rios is a what you see, what you get kind of fighter. He's a warrior. He has that come forward style. Not the best defense. He's just a entertaining brawler. Like he's put on some great wars. His fights with Alvarado, but again, he's what you see is what you get. Even the way he talks, like he doesn't have a filter. He'll talk shit like Broder's a dumbass. Like you know what I mean. He'll just say some shit even in a professional, he could be interviewing with ESPN and he's gonna be Brandon Rios, which is something I like. I mean, I feel like you have to have some kind of separation, but that's another story. Um, Brandon Rios is a fun fighter. I just think he's limited in terms of his actual boxing ability. On top of that, he's been out of the sport in terms of hasn't been in the ring for almost a year since the Pacquiao fight, and in that fight he lost, and then the fight before that he lost. So he's off two losses, long layoff. And to me, Brandon Rios doesn't just seem like a workhorse. He doesn't seem like a guy who's going to be like Floyd Mayweather or Bernard Hopkins in the sense that he's going to maintain his weight. It's to me it seems like he got in shape, but he probably gained a lot of weight and then started working once he knew he had to fight, as opposed to just like stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So I think that's going to come to hurt him. Diego Chaves can punch to the body, and he also goes upstairs. He showed you that in the Keith Thurman fight. And one thing I really liked about Diego Chaves was in the Keith Thurman fight, he beat Keith Thurman at what is supposed to be Keith Thurman's game, and that's like overwhelm you with strength and power. He was winning that battle of kind of brawling. Diego Chaves was winning that, and against a powerful puncher like Keith Thurman, that is impressive to me. And some people don't know boxing. Someone told me that, oh, Brandon Rios is gonna win because Diego Chaves ain't got no chin. But Keith Thurman beat him and stopped him. I think he's the only one to do that, and he did it to the body. So how does that mean he has no chin? You know what I'm saying? Like Gennady Golovkin knocked out Macklin to the body, so I could say he don't have no chin because he got knocked out via body shot. Like that doesn't even make sense. Diego Chaves, I think the contrary. I think he has a decent chin at the very least because he was in there and he went more rounds with Keith Thurman than a ton of guys. A lot of guys are getting stopped inside of 3 rounds, and he's the only person like of the high profile, the bigger names that I remember going past the midway point with Keith Thurman. Another guy is Jan Zibic. So I think in terms of Diego Chaves, he's the better boxer. I think I usually lean towards a fighter with a better jab, and I think he has that. Brandon Rios is slightly taller than him, and by no means am I counting Brandon Rios out because he's a true warrior. And if you can't deal with that frenetic pace and that constant pressure, and you crumble later in the fight, Brandon Rios will get you out of there, and he will impose his will on you. So that's what's going to be interesting to me. But I have to lean towards the more technically sound, better boxer with a better jab that has been more active, and that is why I'm picking Diego Chaves, just for mainly those reasons. But again, Brandon Rios, he's a live dog. He already did a statement. I posted this. I made a picture graphic, posted this on my Instagram. He said this is a do or die fight for me, and I agree with him. He needs to win. He's off 2 losses. He just got a Pacquiao fight in his last fight, and this will set him back tremendously if he loses Diego Chaves. So I think he knows the implications of a loss tonight. I am picking Diego Chaves, like I said. Brandon Rios has a chin, so I'm gonna say it's via decision, but I could see knockdowns in this fight. I want to say like maybe even a split or majority decision. Diego Chavez will win because I think there will be some knockdowns suffered, and it's gonna be a good fight. I think it could be an all-out war, and we're gonna see how bad Brandon Rios wants to get back on track, and we're also gonna see Diego Chavez showcase what he's about. He's not in a rush to become irrelevant again in the sport of boxing. Before the Keith Thurman fight, he was supposed to fight Paulie Malignaggi. He was the mandatory for Paulie. But Paulie Malignaggi bypassed his mandatory, which was Diego Chavez at the time, went the money route, fought Adrian Broner, lost his belt to him, and that's that. So I don't think Diego Chavez is in a real rush to go back to obscurity where no one really knows him, where he's not getting fights in the States and that kind of thing. So I think it'll be a good fight. I think it's going to be a banger, potential fight of the year, just because that's what Brandon Rios brings. And Diego Chavez showed a bit of that in the Keith Thurman fight. So that's my picks for tonight's fight. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you disagree and why. Make sure you like the video as always. Hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.